Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Chapter 4 of our source material, and it tackles a really fascinating puzzle, the late teen paradox. This is an age group that is, by all accounts, more connected than any generation in history. And yet, something is deeply wrong. Let's get into it.
So here's the central question. How can it be that in an era with endless apps and platforms designed for connection, the very people using them the most, late teens, are reporting record levels of loneliness and anxiety? It just doesn't seem to add up. Well, the material we're exploring today offers some compelling and, frankly, pretty worrying answers.
Right, so this is what the source material calls the paradox. It's this constant battle between connection on one side and this profound sense of isolation on the other. You know, these years are supposed to be all about figuring out who you are, building your identity, but the very tool they're using to do that, their phone, seems to be at the heart of the problem.
And look, this isn't just a vague feeling. We have the data. This is a measurable crisis with a really clear timeline. It starts around age 16, when depression rates just shoot up. By 17, that's the peak for reported loneliness. And that stress, it doesn't just disappear. It follows them right into that huge life transition, whether it's college or their first job. And what's truly shocking here is that this completely flips historical trends on their head. Late adolescence used to be a time when mental health actually got better. Now, it's the exact opposite.
So, what is at the very heart of all this? Well, it boils down to one of the most fundamental jobs of being a teenager: figuring out who you are. The thing is, that entire crucial process of building an identity has pretty much moved from the real world into the digital one.
And the research is clear. This is a classic double-edged sword. On one side, yeah, the internet can be a total lifeline. If you're a teen exploring your identity, maybe you feel different, you can find a global community that gets you. But the other edge of that sword is incredibly sharp. That same fragile, emerging sense of self is now constantly being judged by likes, endlessly compared to curated online perfection, and it's wide open to cyberbullying. It's a powerful and, for many, a really damaging psychological trap.
And this right here is what the research calls the loneliness paradox. You have teens who are practically drowning in digital notifications and connections, but they're absolutely starved for the deep, authentic, real-world support that actually makes them feel secure and understood.
Okay, but this isn't just about their social and emotional lives. This paradox has a very real, very tangible cost that's hitting them where it counts for their future, in the classroom.
So how does that actually work? Well, you can think of it like a domino effect. It starts with step 1, just constant distraction. Your phone is buzzing all day. That leads to step 2, a reduced attention span. Your brain gets trained to switch tasks every few seconds. Then comes step 3, sleep deprivation, because they're on their screens late into the night. And finally, all that scrolling displaces deep reading, the very skill you need to build critical thinking for college and work. Each step knocks over the next, weakening the entire foundation for learning.
And as you'd expect, schools are starting to fight back. We're seeing everything from total phone bans to locked pouches in the classroom to simple honor systems. So, what's the verdict? Well, the early data is pretty compelling. Schools that are restricting phone access are seeing better test scores and, interestingly, a drop in bullying.
Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. This digital crisis does not affect every teen in the same way. Not at all. The impact is shaped profoundly by both gender and a person's cultural context. 2.5 times. Let that number sink in for just a moment. According to the research, teen girls who are heavy social media users have depression rates 2.5 times higher than boys who are also heavy users. This isn't a small difference. It's a massive gender gap in mental health that just explodes during these specific years.
So why such a huge difference? Well, the source explains that boys and girls are vulnerable in really different ways. For girls, it's often a perfect storm of intense comparison about their appearance, exposure to incredibly harmful content like pro-eating disorder stuff, and higher rates of online harassment. For boys, the risks look different. They're more likely to get drawn into risky online behaviors like gambling, get exposed to violent content, or even become the ones engaging in aggressive online behavior.
And it's not just about gender. The pressures change again depending on the culture. So in more collectivist cultures, you might see stronger parental oversight, which can actually be a protective factor. But there's also this huge pressure to uphold the family's honor online. On the flip side, in more individualist cultures, teens have a lot more freedom to explore. But that comes with this intense pressure to build a personal brand and market themselves, which just pours fuel on that social comparison fire.
So, after looking at identity,
Academics, gender, and culture. We circle right back to where we started, to this central, defining paradox of being a late teen today. Connected, yet completely alone.
You know, this quote from the source just paints such a vivid picture, doesn't it? A walk through any high school hallway reveals the central paradox. Students physically together, yet psychologically isolated, each absorbed in their own digital universe. You can just see it in your mind's eye, can't you?
And this really is the final crucial takeaway. The technology is only going to get more sophisticated, more immersive. But what this research makes painfully clear is that authentic connection, the kind that actually supports our well-being, simply cannot be mediated entirely through a screen. And that leaves us with a really tough question. How do we help an entire generation navigate a world that pushes them toward the exact opposite of what they so desperately need?